And good afternoon, good evening, and good night, and welcome to today's episode of Law, News and Laughter. Today we're going to be looking at the interesting case of Dan White and the Twinkie Defense, or as everybody else knows it, diminished capacity. So aside from that, we also have the DOJ is suing. We have a woman who left her kids at the beach. We have a rather disturbing thought that Halloween costumes from the 70s, 80s, and 90s are now considered vintage. That's one way to feel a little bit old. But yeah, so let's get stuck into it, people. Welcome to today's episode of Law, News and Laughter. So, the Twinkie Defense. How did this all work with Dan White and the murder case? The term Twinkie Defense is basically an umbrella term that has been in the general sense refers to the unconventional defensive argument wherein an individual was so driven madly insane by Twinkies that he apparently had the diminished capacity of someone that was allegedly unable to understand that what they were doing was right or wrong. The term originated from the 1979 trial of Dan White, a San Francisco politician who was charged with first-degree murder. A testifying psychiatrist pointed out that White's consumption of sugary foods such as Twinkies could apparently lead to diminished capacity. As a result, White was ultimately convicted of a lighter offense of involuntary manslaughter instead of, murder, as you do. The legitimacy of the Twinkie defense has been the subject of debate, where after White's trial, the California legislature actually amended its penal code to soften the intent requirements for first-degree murder. It's because, they didn't want people being able to say, oh, I had a Twinkie and then I went out and shot my ex-wife, because, why not? As a result, it is now, in order to prove the killing was deliberate and premeditated, it is not necessary to prove that the defendant maturely and meaningfully... It's not necessarily to prove that the defendant maturely or meaningfully reflected upon the gravity of their own actions. The term the Twinkie defense has been used in various contexts, such as describing outrageous medical-related defenses. The term has also notably been used in where a defendant's right to choose their own counsel. During the oral arguments of the United States v. Gonzalez and Lopez, Justice Scalia, I don't know why I broke down the full name, emphasized the desirability of a counsel who should be able to invent a Twinkie defense. So, where did it come from? Understanding the so-called Twinkie defense. The devil made me do it. You might not be surprised to hear a defendant in a criminal case make this claim. But what about the junk food made me do it? Or cough medicine? Or caffeine? Although not especially common, these kinds of arguments are still made in criminal cases. In fact, there is such a name for them, called the Twinkie defense. I'm just going to make sure that I am not actually causing any sort of additional audio. Nope, that's fine. Looks like I really should actually make it so that the mic is on the top as opposed to everything else. Where are we? It's saying for any sure it's not the Twink defense. I'm very sure I double checked. Although there is an LGBTQ plus connotation to this story. The phrase the Twinkie defense was coined by the media in 1978 in the coverage of the trial of Dan White, who was charged with the murder for the shooting of San Francisco Mayor George Moscone and Supervisor Harvey Milk. However, the Twinkie defense is really a myth. As explained in the San Francisco Gate, the defense presented evidence that White suffered from a mental illness, including depression. A psychiatrist testified that White's excessive consumption of junk food, including Twinkies, exacerbated his symptoms and was proof of his depressive state. Good God, if eating junk food is proof of depression, then I must be 6 foot under. But the defense never claimed that eating the snack foods put White into a sugar-induced frenzy that drove him to kill Moscone and Milk. It was the press that pushed that angle. Rather, the actual defense in the case was that he suffered from diminished capacity and acted in the heat of passion. The jury apparently bought the argument and convicted White of voluntary manslaughter instead of murder. Despite the truth, the term Twinkie defense has become stuck in the public's imagination and the media's vocabulary, essentially being used as shorthand for any defense in which the accused blames the consumption of or use of some sort of substance for their actions. Since 1978, variations of the Twinkie defense continue to be made, expanding beyond junk food to include other substances. For example, Matthew Phelps, an aspiring pastor in North Carolina, was recently accused of stabbing his wife Lauren to death. He says that he woke up to find her covered in blood on the floor, but couldn't remember what happened that night. Although Phelps believes that he attacked his wife, he blames cough medicine that he took to help him sleep that apparently caused him to black out. On September 25, 2017, Phelps was indicted on first-degree murder charges. As well he should have been. So, mainstream media again. Yeah, mainstream media does quite a bit. Just give me a second. I need to fuel up. I'll be right back with you. There we go. Blaming cough medicine does seem to be a fairly popular version of the Twinkie defense. In 2011, Dr. Louis Chen was accused of murdering his partner Eric Cooper and their 2-year-old son. His defense was cough syrup-induced psychosis. That is, his attorneys argued that at the time of the murders, he was suffering from mental health issues such as depression and paranoia, which were exacerbated by the use of over-the-counter cough medicine. He ultimately pled guilty. Also in 2011, James McVeigh broke into the house of Maybelle Shine, and stabbed her to death. He pled guilty, but mentally ill to the murder charges. At sentencing, the defense said that the night before the murder, he'd mixed alcohol with cough syrup, which you should never do. Do not mix your depressives in your elevatives. Just don't do it. Which caused him to suffer hallucinations. In addition, the defense claimed that McVeigh suffered from mental illness as well as alcohol and drug abuse issues. The jury imposed the death penalty, but McVeigh committed suicide in 2014. Fuck! What, 9 minutes in? In high school, I knew people who robo-tripped. They said it was like it was a hallucinogenic. Kenneth Sands, a bus driver from Washington, claimed that consuming too much caffeine compelled him to sexually molest 5 women. Well, this ain't going to be a green stream, so feel free to send through super chats, people. Something else we've got to talk about in a few minutes after I get through this as well. Monosodium glutamate was blamed for James Huberty's 1984 rampage in San Isidro McDonald's, which left 21 people dead and 15 wounded. Huberty, who had a long history of mental illness, was killed by the police who responded to the scene. Huberty's widow and children unsuccessfully sued his former employer at McDonald's, claiming that the MSG in its food, which Huberty ate regularly, and several heavy metals he was exposed to as a welder combined to cause the violent outburst. It's interesting, because I know that MSG, you're not supposed to put that into food anymore, so I wonder if there was anything telling to that. These kinds of claims may seem self-serving, desperate attempts to avoid responsibility for horrible acts of violence, but there may be some validity to them. For instance, many cough medicines contain the ingredient DXM, which when taken in high doses can cause mania, hallucinations, and result in assault, self-deletion, and homicide, according to one study. Was it a double-blind study, and what sort of information was required and presented? Otherwise, I call bullshit. Because cough syrup containing DMX is easy to get, it has become a popular recreational drug amongst teenagers. How fucking old is this article? Researchers found that adolescents who drank more than 5 cans of non-diet soda drinks per week were significantly more likely to carry a weapon. That's like saying, I drink V, therefore I carry a mobile phone. Show me... Just because correlation doesn't mean that there's any sort of, like... Sorry. Correlation does not equate to causation. We know this. Specifically, researchers found that adolescents who drank more than 5 cans of soda per drink were significantly more to have carried a weapon and have been violent with peers, family members, and dates. Dates. Interesting. DMX was a rapper. Fair. It is important to note that aside from asserting some form of the Twinkie defense, there's another common thread to these cases. Nearly all the defendants had underlying mental health issues. No shit, Sherlock. I'm just going to move that camera slightly as well. It's off-center and it was really pissing me off. Oh, now it's off-center that way. Fuck. In fact, the defense in such cases typically is that the consumption of a particular substance combined with the mental health issues resulted in the behavior. Thus, the substances in question aren't solely to blame for the resulting crimes. In other words, no one is claiming that you eat a Twinkie or take enough cough medicine, you'll snap and murder everyone who happens to be near you. I don't know, it depends. Is someone trying to take my Twinkie? Soundbite time. Is someone trying to touch my Twinkie? In reality, the Twinkie defense is a form of diminished capacity defense. When a defendant argues diminished capacity, they are claiming a mental condition, emotional distress, or other factor preventing them from fully understanding the nature of the crime they committed. The purpose of this argument is not to exonerate the defendant, but to negate the element of intent, and thus result in a conviction of a lesser crime, such as manslaughter instead of murder. In short, no one has ever really blamed the bright yellow cream-filled snacks for murder. Well, the mainstream media did. But defendants have blamed other substances combined with underlying mental health issues for violent actions and a plea for leniency. Yeah, so technically when you claim, I should not be charged or convicted of vehicular manslaughter because I was drunk, or because I'd ingested too much sugar, or because I went on, that's all technically Twinkie defense. But, never get between a fat guy and a buffet. This is true. You'll lose a finger. As long as defendants continue to make such arguments, it's unlikely that the term Twinkie defense will disappear, despite the truth of its origins. If nothing else, the persistent use of the term shows the power of the media and its influence on the criminal justice system. So let's have a look at Dan White. Who was Dan White? Yes, I'm going to good old Wikipedia, because why not? Dan White was an American politician who assassinated San Francisco Mayor George Moscone and Supervisor Harvey Milk on November 27, 1978 at City Hall. He was convicted of manslaughter for the deaths. He served 5 years out of his 7-year prison sentence. Less than 2 years after his release, he returned to San Francisco and later committed self-yeeting. After a disagreement over a proposed drug rehabilitation center in the Mission District, White frequently clashed with Milk as well as other members of the board. On November 10, 1978, White resigned in his seat as supervisor. The reasons he cited were his dissatisfaction with what he saw as the corrupt practices of San Francisco city politics, as well as the difficulty earning a living without a police officer's or firefighter's salary. Damn! How far back was this? 78, and he's bitching and moaning about earning a living without being on a firefighter or police officer's salary. Jobs that he could not retain legally while serving as a supervisor. White had opened a baked potato stand at Pier 39, which failed to become profitable. He reversed his resignation on November 14 after his supporters lobbied him to seek reappointment from George Moscone. Moscone initially agreed to his request, but later refused the appointment at the urging of Milk and others. On November 27, 1978, White visited San Francisco City Hall with a later declared intention of killing not only Moscone and Milk, but 2 other San Francisco politicians, California Assembly Speaker Willie Brown, who would later serve as mayor of San Francisco, and Supervisor Carol Ruth Silver, whom he also blamed for lobbying Moscone to not reappoint him. He climbed through the first-floor window on the side of City Hall, carrying a Smith & Wesson .38 .38 caliber revolver and 10 rounds of ammunition. By entering the building through the window, he managed to avoid the recently installed metal detectors. After entering Moscone's office, White pleaded to be reinstated as supervisor, but Moscone refused. White then killed him by shooting him in the shoulder and the chest, then twice in the head. Damn, what a time for me not to have the sound effects set up. So anyway, I started blasting. Milk is a solid beverage to have with Twinkies. This is true. This is very true. If anyone is watching over on Rumble, can you just double check and insert something into the chat, just because I'm not sure whether or not it's working or not. I'm pretty sure I set everything up, but it doesn't seem to be working. After entering his office, he pleaded. He then walked to the other side of City Hall to Milk's office, reloaded the gun, and fatally shot Milk 5 times. Firing the final 2 shots with the gun's barrel touching Milk's skull, according to the medical examiner. White then fled City Hall, surrendering to police at San Francisco's Northern Police Station, where he'd formerly been a police officer. While being interviewed by investigators, White recorded a tearful confession stating, "I just shot him." A blam blah blam. SC Medic, thank you, appreciate it. At trial, White's defense team argued that his mental state at the time of the killing was one of diminished capacity due to depression. They argued he was therefore not capable of premeditating the murders and thus was not guilty of first-degree murder. Forensic psychiatrist Martin Blinder testified that White was suffering from depression and pointed to several behavioural symptoms of that depression, including the fact that he had gone from being health conscious to consuming sugary foods and drinks. Area newspapers quickly dubbed it the Twinkie Defense. When the prosecution played a recording of his confession, several jurors wept as they listened to what they described as a man pushed beyond his endurance. Many people familiar with City Hall claimed it was common to enter through the window to save time. A police officer friend of White who claimed to reporters that several officials carried weapons at the time and speculated that White carried extra ammunition as a habit that police officers had. The jury found White guilty of manslaughter rather than first-degree murder. Outrage within San Francisco's gay community over the resulting 7-year sentence sparked the city's White Night riots. General disdain for the outcome of the court case led to the elimination of California's diminished capacity law. Yep, as a result of this, diminished capacity went out the window in California entirely. Yo, Aussie, you're super gay, learn how to grift, bitch. What can I say? I'm just not that kind of guy. Yeah, why does his sexuality matter? Look, it doesn't really, Coke Fairy. It's more that people saw that he got a... People were concerned that his sexuality impacted the length of the sentence. Let's put it that way. Psychiatrist Thomas Zaz, a critic of forensic psychiatry, gave a speech to a large audience in San Francisco in June 1979, calling the White verdict a travesty of justice, which he blamed on the diminished capacity defense. Excuse me. In 1998, Frank Falzone, a homicide inspector for the San Francisco police, to whom White had surrendered after the murders, said he had met with White in 1984, and that at that meeting, White had confessed that he had intended to kill not only Milk and Moscone, but another supervisor, Carol Ruth Silver, as well as then member of the California State Assembly and future San Francisco Mayor Willie Brown. Falzone quoted White as having said, "I was on a mission. I wanted 4 of them. Carol Ruth Silver, she was the biggest snake, and Willie Brown, he was masterminding the whole thing." Falzone indicated that he believed White, stating, "I felt like I'd been hit by a sledgehammer. I found out that it was premeditated murder." White served 5 years of his 7-year sentence at Soledad State Prison and was paroled on January 7, 1984. Fearing White might be murdered in retaliation for his crimes, the California State Corrections officials secretly transported him to LA, where he served a year's parole. At the completion of his parole, White sought to return to San Francisco. Mayor Dianne Feinstein urged White not to return on the basis that doing so would jeopardize public safety. Joel Wax, a Los Angeles City Council member, also argued to keep White out of Los Angeles. While White eventually did move back to San Francisco, where he lived with his wife and children. On October 21, 1985, less than 2 years after his release from prison, he self-deleted by carbon monoxide poisoning in his garage. His body was discovered by his brother Thomas shortly before 2 p.m. the same day. White was buried at Golden Gate National Cemetery in San Bruno, California, with a traditional government-furnished headstone issued for war veterans. He was survived by his 2 sons, daughter, and his widow. So, there you go. So this is interesting. This is a reprint of a news article from 1993. Kool-Aid and Twinkies by Paul Krasner from Remembering Jonestown, Dan White, and the 2 Weeks That Ate San Francisco. Oh, no shit. We have a super chat. Oh, and look at that. It does show things up. Excellent. Okay. He could have made extra money by milking his victims. It worked for Cammy. Oh, Jesus. Okay. It's been 15 years since the Jonestown Massacre and the assassinations of Mayor George Moscone and Supervisor Harvey Milk. Those of us who lived in San Francisco then were at the epicenter of an emotional earthquake that encircled the globe. What happened in Jonestown was inconceivably evil. What happened in the City Hall was devastating. We walked around in a daze of sadness, only to have our outrage further intensified each day as new details were revealed in the media. Jim Jones, founder of the 8,000-member People's Temple on Gary Boulevard, once asked Margot St. James, founder of the prostitutes' right group Coyote, how he could obtain political power. She answered sardonically, "Arrange for some of your women to have sex with the bigwigs." Jones, in turn, offered to supply busloads of his congregation for any protest demonstration that Coyote organised, but Margot declined. "I thought he was a slimy creep," she said. Wait, what has this got to do with... Okay, we're getting there. I was like, what the fuck has this got to do with the current case? Margot's instincts were correct. Jones had potential recruits for the People's Temple checked out by his representatives, who would rummage through the recruits' garbage and report on their findings. Discarded letters, food preferences, and other clues. Temple members would visit the homes of recruits, and while one would initiate conversation, the other would use the bathroom, copying names of doctors and types of medicines. Ooh. They would also phone relatives of a recruit in the guise of conducting a survey and gather other information. All of this would then be taped to the inside of Jones's podium, from which he would proceed at a lecture to demonstrate his magical powers by sensing the presence of an individual and mentioning specific details. Classy. When the People's Temple moved to Guyana and became Jonestown, Jones would publicly humiliate his followers. He required them to remove clothing and participate in boxing matches, pitting an old lady against a young one. He forced one man to participate in a homosexual act in the presence of his girlfriend. There were paddle beatings and compulsory practice self-eating sessions called White Nights. On November 8, 1978, Leo Ryan, a congressman who had been investigating Jonestown, was slain at the airport along with 3 people and several disillusioned Temple members. Jones then orchestrated the mass self-eating of 900 men, women, and children, most of whom were apparently black. Those who refused the flavored drink mixed with potassium cyanide were either shot or received lethal injections. Jim Jones himself... What? I don't understand what the hell this has to do with anything. Did they just combine various... I'm confused what the fuck that has to do with anything! Okay. It had nothing to do with anything. It's literally... And then 1 week later, while we were still in the state of utter shock, came a second earthquake. Dan White, the former cop who resigned from the San Francisco Board of Supervisors because he couldn't support his wife and baby on a salary of $9,600 a year. He obtained a lease for a fast food franchise at Fisherman's Wharf and planned to devote himself full-time to his restaurant, The Hot Potato. However, White had been the swing vote on the board representing real estate interests and Conservative Police Officers Association. With a promise of financial backing, White changed his mind and told the mayor he wanted his job back. At first, Moscone said sure, and a man is right to change his mind. But there was opposition to White's return, led by Harvey Milk, who was openly gay. Milk had cut off his ponytail and put on a suit so he could work within the system, but he refused to hide his sexual orientation. I mean, I get that this is 78, but that's... okay. Keep in mind, people, nothing said on this channel, nothing read out on this channel, I should say, necessarily represents the views, the values, or the opinions of the host of the show. Just so we're clear. Hot potato. I met Harvey Milk when he ran a neighborhood camera shop, and I watched him develop into the gay equivalent of Martin Luther King. Holy shit, okay. Had he lived, he might have been elected the first openly gay mayor. But he already envisioned the possibility that he would become a martyr. After he was elected supervisor, he taped a message to his constituents that included his prophetic fear and hope. If bullets should ever enter my brain, let those bullets blow open every closet in the country. Slightly violent. Milk warned the pragmatic Moscone that giving the homophobic White his seat back would be seen as an anti-gay move. Even a mayor who wanted to run for re-election had the right to change his mind. On Sunday evening, November 26th, a reporter called Dan White and said, "I can tell you from a very good source in the mayor's office that you definitely are not going to be reappointed. Can you comment on that?" White replied, "I don't want to talk about it. I don't know anything about that," and hung up. He stayed on the couch that night, not wanting to keep his wife awake. He didn't get any sleep himself and just lay there brooding. He decided to go to City Hall on Monday morning. When his aide, Denise Apcar, picked him up at 10:15, he didn't come out the front door as he normally would. He emerged from the garage. He had gone down there to put his service revolver, a .38 special that he always kept loaded. He opened a box of extra cartridges, which were packed in rows of 5, and put 10 of them, wrapped in a handkerchief, so that they wouldn't rattle, into his pocket. Because of rumors that Jonestown assassins had been programmed to hit random targets in the US. Okay. Metal detectors had been set up at the front doors of City Hall. When White went up the stairs to the main entrance, he didn't recognise the security guard monitoring the metal detector, so he went around to the McAllister Street side, entered through a large basement window, and proceeded to the mayor's office. After a brief conversation, he shot at George Moscone twice in the body, then 2 more times in the head, execution style, as he lay on the floor. The Marlboro cigarette was still in Moscone's hand and was still burning when paramedics arrived. This guy's a dramatic. White hurriedly walked across the long corridor to the area where the supervisor's offices were. His name had already been removed from the door to his office, but he still had a key. He went inside and reloaded his gun, then walked out past Supervisor Diane Feinstein's office. She called to him, but he didn't stop. I have to do something first, he told her. Harvey Milk was in his office thanking a friend who had just loaned him $3,000. Dan White walked in. Can I talk to you for a minute, Harvey? White followed Milk into his office. White then followed 3 shots into Milk's body, and while he was prone on the floor, he fired 2 more shots into Milk's head. George Moscone's body was buried, Harvey Milk's was cremated. His ashes were placed in a box that was wrapped in Doonesbury comic strips and then scattered at sea. The ashes had been mixed with the contents of 2 packets of Kool-Aid, and they formed a purple patch on the Pacific. Harvey would have liked that touch, apparently. I'm confused. Is he gay or does he have a wife? Different guys. So Harvey Milk was gay, Dan White was not, and he was talking about his wife. Yeah, there you go. Harvey was gay, the assassin had a wife. The drama in this article. I know, right? So, the trial. In 1979, I covered the trial of Dan White for the Bay Guardian. Defense attorney Doug Schmidt didn't want pro-gay sentiment to pollute the verdict. He wasn't allowed to ask potential jurors if they were gay, but he would ask if they had ever supported controversial issues, like homosexual rights, for instance. There was one prospective juror who came from a family of cops. Ordinarily, Schmidt would have craved his presence on the jury, but then he said, perhaps gratuitously, I live with a roommate and a lover. Schmidt's next question, where does he or she work? The man answered he, and the ball game was over. Works at the Holiday Inn. The day before the trial, the assistant DA was handing out the prosecution. Who was handling the prosecution was standing outside in the elevator of the Hall of Justice. He heard a voice behind him speak his name. Tom Norman, you're a motherfucker for prosecuting Dan White. He turned around and saw 6 police inspectors. He flushed and faced the door again. The cops were his drinking buddies, and now they were all mad at him. Let's go, Brandon, with $5. Bikini time. Bet you wish you had a co-host now. Brandon, I'm not taking my shirt off. I've done it once okay? But seriously, once I get to the end of this, remind me, and I will explain for anyone that has not seen the rules that I posted on Twitter for the upcoming Sourced Saturday. Because, Brandon, I think you're going to like it. I do. We're almost at the end of this, and then I'll bring it up and we can discuss. And everyone can reminisce and ruminate about how badly you guys want to fuck me over a week from Saturday. Okay? But thank you for the super chat. I know every Australian has a government-issued thong. You want to see my feet that badly? Okay, where are we? What did I get to? Shit. He turned around and now they're all mad at him. In his confession, White had stated, I don't know why I put my gun on. And at the trial, psychiatrists offered reasons ranging from psychological, it was a security blanket, to the practical, it was for self-defense against the People's Temple hit squad. But as Jack Webb, a former police officer and member of the police commission, told me, an off-duty cop carrying his gun for protection isn't going to take extra bullets. If he can't save his life with the bullets already in his gun, then he's done for. The late J.J. Rodale once claimed in his magazine Prevention that Lee Harvey Oswald had been seen holding a Coca-Cola bottle only minutes after his assassination of President Kennedy. From this, he concluded that Oswald was not responsible for the killing because his brain was confused. Oh, I'll be damned. The alert button is still working. Huh. He was a sugar drunkard. In a surprise move, Dan White's defense team presented a similar biochemical explanation for his behavior, blaming it on his compulsive gobbling of Gulling is such a horrendous word. Of sugar-filled junk snacks. This was a purely accidental tactic. Dan Metcalf, a merry prankster who had become a lawyer, told me about the evening he happened to be playing chess with Stephen Shear, an associate of White's attorney. Metcalf, a health why am I not talking properly? Metcalf, a health enthusiast, had just read Orthomolecular Nutrition by Abraham Hoffer. He questioned Shear about White's diet and learned that while under stress, White could consume candy bars and soft drinks. During the trial, one psychiatrist stated that on the night before the murders, while Dan White was getting depressed about the fact that he would not be reappointed, he just sat there in front of the TV, binging on Twinkies. In court, White just sat there in a state of complete control, bordering on catatonia, as he listened to an assembly line of psychiatrists tell the jury how out of control he had been. One even testified, if not for the aggravating fact of the junk food, the homicides might not have taken place. But in the corridor, Berkeley psychiatrist Lee Coleman denounced the entire practice of the psychiatric testimony as a disguised form of hearsay. And so a shrewd defense had transformed into a double political execution in the White Sugar murders. The jury's verdict of guilty of voluntary manslaughter and White served The jury's verdict was guilty of voluntary manslaughter, and White served a little more than 5 years in prison. The estimated shelf life of a Twinkie was 7. Nice little tidbit to add in there. When Dan White was released, the Twinkie in his cupboard would still be edible. On the evening of the day that the verdict was handed down, I was relaxing at home, smoking a joint and remembering how, in 1975, as a state senator, the progressive George Moscone had been the author of a bill to decriminalise marijuana. I was trying to unwind from the trial and contemplating the implications of the verdict. Patty Hearst had been kidnapped, kept hostage and brainwashed, but she was held responsible for robbing a bank, whereas Dan White had not been kidnapped, kept hostage, and brainwashed, but he was not responsible for executing 2 government officials. My reverie was interrupted by a phone call from Mike Weiss, who had covered the trial for the Time magazine. He was calling from a phone near City Hall. I could hear crowds screaming and sirens wailing behind his voice. He had to yell, "There's a riot going on, you should get here right away." Reluctantly, I took a cab. When I arrived, there was a dozen police cars that had been set on fire, which in turn set off their alarms, underscoring the angry shouts from a mob of 5,000 gay men. On the night Harvey Milk was murdered, many of them were among the 30,000 that had marched silently to City Hall for a candlelight vigil. Now they were rioting, utterly furious at the Dan White verdict. But where were the cops? They were all fuming inside City Hall, where the commander had instructed them to stay. Armed prisoners watched helplessly as angry demonstrators broke glass and were trying to ram their way through the locked doors. Suddenly, the police were being released from City Hall. As I and others walked north on Polk Street, the cops were beginning to march slowly in formation not too far behind us. By the instant they were out of the view of City Hall, they broke ranks and started running towards us, hitting the metal pole of a bus stop with their billy clubs making scary clanging noises. They'd been let out of their cage and they were absolutely enraged. I was struck with a nightstick on the outside of my right knee. I fell to the ground. The cop ran off to injure as many of other protesters as he could. Another cop came charging at me, yelling, "Get up, get up." "I'm trying to!" He made a threatening gesture with his billy club, and when I tried to protect my head with my arms, he jabbed me viciously into the exposed right side of my ribs. The cops were running amok now in an orgy of indiscriminate sadism, swinging their clubs wildly and screaming, "Get the fuck out of here! You fucking..." Not reading that one. You motherfucking... I know I shouldn't be laughing, but this is like this is the language that they were using back in the 70s. Holy shit! I managed to drag myself to the sidewalk. I had a fractured rib and a punctured lung. Fuck. The injuries affected my posture and my gait. I still walk with a limp, and it's all Dan White's fault. Dude, that's fucking bullshit. You didn't have to be there. You decided to be there. And clearly you didn't yell out, "Oh, by the way, I'm with the press." Where was that? Huh? In October 1985, White committed self-deletion by inhaling carbon monoxide fumes in his garage. He taped a note to the windshield of the car saying, "I'm sorry for trouble that I've caused." No, I just need to double check. No, that was the article that I wasn't... Alright, we'll quickly do this. Twinkies made me do it. Can a man consume so much junk food that he's driven to commit murder? Can he be held responsible for the crimes he committed while under the influence of sugar? These may sound like some ridiculous questions, but this is the legacy of the Twinkie Defense, a myth created in 1978 following the tragic deaths of San Francisco Mayor George Moscone and Supervisor Harvey Milk. Moscone and Milk were shot and killed by Dan White, another supervisor of the city of San Francisco. Well, he actually wasn't, because he hadn't been reappointed. These high-profile killings brought about a ton of media attention, which latched onto the idea that White had been hopped up on sugar from eating Twinkies, that he lost the ability for rational thought when committing the murders. The defense was actually trying to prove that White suffered from depression and that his depressive state in the weeks of the killing had led to him having diminished capacity, which caused him to act irrationally. White's defense wanted to prove that he was incapable of deliberately killing Moscone and Milk and instead acted in the heat of passion. Their support for this theory included White's diet leading up to the shooting, which consisted of high amounts of junk food. The press jumped on the idea and began to spread the word that White was crazed by a sugar high when he shot the politicians. I'm wondering whether or not this had anything to do with the what do you call it? Corn syrup. I'm wondering whether or not this had anything to do with corn syrup. Just curious. I mean, why not jump on the bandwagon and push that it's sugar? In San Fran, it's accurate. CS isn't an insult, it's a description. That's terrible. Oh, damn it. Thank you. I don't know why it does that. It doesn't do that when I'm on StreamYard. There we go. Today, the Twinkie defense is a commonplace legal slang. It typically refers to a defendant's claim that they suffered from mental impairment exacerbated by the use of a substance at the time of the crime. It's usually added on as a last-ditch effort to receive sympathy, shift the blame, or prove diminished capacity. The Twinkie defense was invoked by the defense for Dr. Louis Chen, a Seattle physician who was charged with murdering his partner and infant son. Chen's attorneys claimed that he had a history of depression and paranoia, which was combined with the excessive use of cough syrup and self-medication. The combination apparently led to a psychotic break, which caused Chen to carry out the killings. Another example is the case of Kenneth Sands, an Oregon bus driver who was accused of sexually assaulting several girls. Sands claims that the unusually high amount of caffeine at the time led to his erratic behavior. He claimed that he did not normally act this way and was influenced by the extreme caffeine dosage. As with many other cases which invoke the Twinkie defense, both Chen and Sands were found guilty of their crimes and sentenced accordingly. Good. Very good. Okay. That pretty well covers it for the Twinkie defense and the Dan White murder case. The details were fairly straightforward, really, frankly. I just wanted to throw in a little bit of, what's that? Aussie flexing his ventriloquism skills. It helps. Alright, I'm just going to... What do I want to do? I want to switch to that. Okay, so, main camera. Give me 2 seconds while I bring it up, because I just want to make sure that I've got everything. Won't be a second, people. Just talking amongst ourselves, wherever the hell it's gone, because it does not appear to be here. Of course not. Why would it be here? Why would what I need be right where I want it when I need it? It never would be, so hang on, give me 2 more seconds. I'm actually on the camera, yes, so I don't have to show that. Okay, so go there, download that, and download that. Okay, so now I just gotta wait for that to download, save that into YouTube, there we go, close that web page. Alright. YouTube, move that across there, and boom. Wait, why is that not, why can I not? Oh, because it's not live, I can't actually, son of a gun. What if I go to news? Can I do it there? Add that in there. That'll do. All right. Reintroducing the challenges to my liver. We are bringing back Sourced Saturday, people, and guess what? We're adding a little bit of extra oomph to it. Because not only will you have the opportunity to wreck my liver for $100 a shot, the aggregate shots, so as the super chats roll up, as the Rumble rants roll up, as we hit the $100 mark, we will move up. Or, sorry, I should say, chat will have the opportunity to decide whether or not they want me to take a shot, or if they want to progress in the Tears of Fear. Now, what will happen is, once we reach the 3-hour mark, there will be a 30-minute period where both my guests and you as chat will have the opportunity to do whatever you want to make me laugh. For every single time that I laugh during that 30-minute period, I will take a mouthful of whatever level we are at on the tier of fear. Thus far, it includes very hot chili sauce, it includes wasabi, it includes toothpaste. I'm yet to fill out the entire 10 levels of the tiers of fear. I will make those details public. But that is happening a week from Saturday. Sauce Saturday, more puking on string? Potentially. No, removal of clothes is not an option. So yes, that is where we are coming at from that. Because, you know what? It can't just be about me getting plastered. I want you guys to have a little bit of fun. I want you guys to give me a little bit of punishment that doesn't necessarily involve my liver. So, what do you mean, why? It'll be fun. What do you mean smaller channels? Fuck you, Bipto. Not only that, shots of Vegemite. Vegemite will be on the cards. Yep. Now, as for what Bipto's just said, A, again, fuck you. B, when Jeff was my size, he did exactly the same thing. More to the point, sorry, but it doesn't sound like something I want to see. I have more respect for you than that. That's fine, Real Rob. I appreciate that. So, anyway, let's get stuck into the actual regular news, shall we? I'm going to take that off studio mode because that's just annoying me now, and I want to change the news page to the other news so we can actually get into the interesting stuff. That's a mistake you might regret. Look, it's quite possible. It is quite possible. Vegemite is tame, do Marmite, there's a difference. No. Just no. I'm not a Marmite guy. Alright. Where are we? So let's open these up. And... okay, I'm pretty sure that should be the right page, which means I can take this off now. Nope, that has not worked. What the fruit tingle? There they are. Alright. Alright. Retro find. These Halloween costumes from the 90s, 70s, 80s, and 90s are amazing because apparently now they're just vintage. Halloween is about more than just candy and cheap thrills. It's also about the costumes. No spooky holiday is complete with disguises that is complete without disguises that scare, thrill, or delight. The above video from the 1990s follows an adorable kid who goes to the store as he searches for the perfect costume. He knows exactly which one he wants. All of them! Watch to see which costume he finally lands on. Can you guess before the end? Oh, for crying out loud. How the hell did this make the news? So, alright. What is this 1990? Okay, that explains the Bart Simpson mask. That also explains the Fred Flintstone. Get the Easter egg basket ready. Well, you also has no audio. Oh, hang on. Did I turn off the application? Oh. Alright, there we go.
I'm trying to get it on. This is what I need, Batman. I'm tired.
Okay, that's enough of that shit. She dropped off 2 small kids on a Florida beach, cops say, and then she got in her car. A Florida woman spent time behind bars after leaving 2 young kids unattended on a Florida beach, the Tampa Bay Times has reported. According to the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office, the 41-year-old lawyer took 2 girls, aged 3 and 7, to Upham Beach in the town of St. Pete Beach, then briefly vanished. Witnesses saw the children by themselves for at least a half an hour on October 7, on a Saturday morning, after the woman got back in her car and drove away. When the toddler began to wade out into waist-deep water, the witnesses called the cops and watched over the girls until they arrived. The suspect, who told police she was parking the car, was booked into the county jail on 2 counts of neglect without great bodily harm. While being processed, the suspect was acting nervous and fidgeting. According to the report, deputies later found a vape pen containing a liquid substance that they thought that as she went through X-ray and tacked on another charge of possessing a contraband in a county detention facility. You dumbass. The Clearwater mum declined to comment to the Tampa Bay Times. Her relationship with her children was described as a caregiver on the police report. She was released on a $15,000 bail. Good God. Today you'd go for the tiara? God, I hope not. Green light for Victorian trial to assess medicinal cannabis drivers. New laws that would allow researchers to assess the impact of medicinal cannabis on motorists will be introduced into Parliament on Tuesday, giving drivers with a prescription greater clarity about their fitness to drive. In Victoria, it is illegal to drive with detectable levels of Delta-9 THC, the active ingredient in cannabis, due to concerns that it impairs driver performance and can increase the risk of crashing. It's going to be a while before we see photos of Dan Andrews anymore. I mean, last I saw, he pissed off to New York, and I suppose they've just got to dig the ones out of storage that they've got. To conduct more tests, the government must first amend the transport legislation in Parliament to allow those affected by medical cannabis to get behind the wheel on closed roads and be assessed. The government has started work on a trial that is expected to pave the way for Victorians with a prescription to get behind the wheel when safe. It follows laws in Tasmania that allow drivers to present a medical defence for driving with the presence of THC in their body fluids. Gross. In February, then Premier Daniel Andrews said the change, which would allow unimpaired Victorians to drive after taking medical cannabis, was a priority for the government. While supportive of the reform, the legalised cannabis MPs, who hold two crucial upper house seats, have raised concerns about a lengthy trial taking too long. Take the win and move on. Are you kidding me? First is high drivers, next we'll get justice for drunk drivers. God, I hope not. I really hope not. The Allen government, that's going to take some getting used to, will use the resumption of Parliament on Tuesday to introduce the amendments which say it is needed to deliver world-leading research. The Victorian opposition has previously revealed it supports a change to the law to allow drivers with medical cannabis prescriptions to be allowed to drive in Victoria. Road and Safety Minister Melissa Horne, so it is home, but it's Horne, said the new laws would enhance Victoria's understanding of how medical cannabis affects driving behaviour and informing future reform. As part of the research, the government will also be guided by the road safety outcomes in other countries to give Victorian bureaucrats access to the latest information and data on medical cannabis and driving. According to the research published in the Australian Journal of General Practice in 2021, meta-analysis in the field suggests that cannabis-positive drivers are at a greater risk, but the effects of the THC on driving are generally modest and appear similar to low levels of alcohol. Victoria became the first state to approve medical cannabis in 2016, but unlike Tasmania, has not offered any protections for patients who are driving while What? No. Wrong word. Driving while impaired. Penalties for drug driving include mandatory license suspension. There have been more than medical cannabis. Who the fuck wrote this? There have been more than 100,000 medical cannabis prescriptions provided in Victoria between 2018 and July this year, according to the data from the Therapeutic Goods Administration. Colorado is filled with stoned drivers who drive extremely slowly. Huh. Well, there you go. Just double checking something. Okay, that's fine. Drug tests are useless in stoners driving as far as a blood test. Oh. They need the research, so we shall see. Hawaii have figured out how to stop catalytic converter thefts, so why hasn't your state? The catalytic converter, working to clean up exhaust gases from your car, is a prime target for criminals and can be worth as much as $1,500 at a scrapyard. As such, its theft is a common crime that hits motorists in almost every state, except Hawaii, which has implemented a new law to stamp out the crime. A new law is coming into force in Hawaii this year that's targeting the catalytic converter thefts across the state. To do this, the law has clamped down on the sale of the converters, as well as the theft of the part itself, according to a report from local news outlet KRON number 4. After categorizing the theft of a catalytic converter as a Class C felony in 2022, another law came into effect in the start of 2023 that clamped down on the sale of the parts and the components. Under the new law, people in Hawaii looking to sell catalytic converters must now show photo ID, sign a form saying that it wasn't stolen, and meet other essential requirements. It might not sound like much, but in the addition to the new law, it has made a real difference with the number of catalytic converters across Hawaii. Has made a real difference on the number of thefts. The owner of Yama's Auto Care is seeing what everybody in his line of work has already noticed. They're not getting a lot of customers in need of new catalytic converters. I did maybe a couple this year, but I would at least do 2 or 3 a month, he said. And the evidence is more than just anecdotal, as the Honolulu Police Department has the stats to back up the drop in catalytic converter thefts. According to the figures shared by Kron 4, there were 1,602 and 2008 reports of theft in 2022 and 2021 respectively. In contrast, there's been just 119 reports of theft so far this year. The theft of the catalytic converters is rampant in most states. However, with Halopnik's own Eric Schilling falling victim to the crime last year, so can the rest of the US learn from Hawaii to just stop poor riders from falling victim to the crime in the future? Well, it turns out that Hawaii isn't alone in the approach to catalytic converter thefts. States like Arkansas, South Carolina, and Texas also require scrap merchants to keep track of where the converters come from. Additionally, Minnesota has gone so far as to create a dedicated catalytic converter theft prevention program, which has the sole responsibility of investigating and prosecuting the crime. Way to piss away taxpayer money. Why not just blend it up into a blender, add some milk, fruit, and veg, and just drink it? And then you can piss it away like any other politician. Like, seriously, what? If all it takes is literally showing ID when you sell one to prove that, you haven't stolen it, I don't know. Advertisement showing manual transmission shifting was cringy. Yeah. $1,500 for a cat I call BS. Yeah. Well, that's because it's not $15K, it's $1,500. The THC stores in your fat cells. It stays in your system for a long time, even longer than the fat cells you have. Great. Just get rid of catalytic converters. Problem solved. Hopefully the programs take hold and the US will be able to cut the number of catalytic converters stolen each year, which is estimated to be at 150,000 in 2022. Damn. All right. So, in the war against cash, the Treasury is now unveiling cryptocurrency reforms to protect Australians who own digital assets. I call bullshit. I do. Australia's crypto crackdown is starting to take shape, with the government revealing the next steps in a bid to regulate the digital currency. The Treasurer, Jim Chalmers, who can suck a dick in my opinion, unveiled his proposal to make crypto exchanges and digital asset platforms subject to existing Australian financial services laws. Why? It is a completely new free market, and you honestly think that the way that you have regulated things in the past are going to apply exactly identically to the cryptocurrency market? You're a fucking moron. The government is also proposing to make platform operators obtain an Australian financial services license. There it is. There it is. The Australian financial services license. Depending on the amount of work that you do, how much they're looking to take their cut, basically. The platforms that hold over $1,500 of individual assets or $5 million in aggregate will be covered by the changes. Minimum standards for digital assets such as tokens are also being reviewed. About a quarter of Australians own some form of crypto. Online platforms holding billions of dollars in assets and expose Australians to significant risks, the proposal paper says. Collapses of digital asset platforms, both locally and globally, have seen Australians lose their assets or be forced to wait their turn among a line of creditors. Oh, you mean like if you invest in shares and the market collapses? Like, what you do in your spare time should just be your business as long as you're not doing it on your employer's time. Not disagreeing with that. These reforms seek to reduce the risk of their collapses happening by lifting the standard of their operations and increasing their oversight. Chalmers said the government was moving to decisively and methodically ensure that consumers are adequately protected and innovation can flourish. Feedback on the proposal paper closes on December 1. Consultation for the draft legislation will continue to next year. Separately, Brad Jones, an assistant governor for the Reserve Bank, has outlined the central bank's evolving views of a tokenized future, including digital currencies for Australia. Jones said the RBA remains open-minded as to the functional forms of digital money and supports the infrastructure that could best support the Australian economy in the future. The bank, though, is only at the early stages of planning for a new project to assess how tokenized asset markets might trade in Australia. The RBA and the Treasury will also publish a stock take of their research into a central bank digital currency around the middle of 2024, and then set out a roadmap for the future work. How about you just fuck off and let me keep my cash? Different kinds of imaginary property. Yep. What the fuck is that? Jones said that there was potentially billions of dollars a year in savings in terms of the instant information and accountability of at least some forms of digital currency. Accountability. Say the quiet part out loud, why don't you? He also cited the example of the pricing of the $750 billion market for bank term deposits, or about 15% of Australian bank funding, and was still largely conducted over the phone in branches by email and on spreadsheets, much like 25 years ago. Is this the best we can do? Jones asked. However, the challenges include ongoing regulatory uncertainty and compliance obligations. If a smart contract on a programmable ledger goes awry, cross-border and anti-money laundering responsibilities do not disappear, but who is accountable? We should be wide-eyed to these challenges. It's very possible they can be overcome, but more work by policymakers and industry is needed. Honestly, they just need to fuck off. They're running the economy into the ground anyway, and now they just want to take a stranglehold on everything else. Oh damn! I meant to use this one after the other. I meant to use this one after the drug driving one. A dog has attacked an Otsego County family after ingesting a THC gummy. The director of the county animal control is reminding pet owners that while CBD is safe for most animals, THC is not. The reminder comes days after a woman claimed she was attacked by a family dog after feeding it a THC gummy. According to the report from 9 and 10 News, Animal Control said the dog had been with the family for 4 years and is not an aggressive breed. CBD and THC are two compounds commonly found in pot. Well, marijuana. Yeah. THC is the one that triggers psychoactivity, and CBD is considered safe for dogs and can alleviate aches and pains. THC is considered toxic. It depends on the composition of the dog or the cat as to how it's going to affect them, but the biggest thing is to be aware and to know what to look for. THC toxicity can lead from side effects leading from lack of coordination and sluggishness to restlessness and aggression. This dog became very aggressive and it was a very bad scene. Her team is now working with the Michigan Department of Agriculture and Rural Development to try and get warnings placed on THC products. Experts recommend that if your pet consumes THC, you should contact a veterinarian immediately. Sorry, I'm just double checking on something. Sorry. Okay. Non-stop calls. Savannah among the top cities for robocalls. Do we actually really care about this? No, we don't. Moving on. Sperm donor stories. Australia. Mum's shock as she discovers son's secret sibling living just down the road. An Adelaide mum, Rachel Toyer, opened her Facebook and was in shock. A private message revealed that her 3-year-old son, Arlo, had a brother who lived 5 minutes down the road, and the surprises kept coming. Giggity. Arlo also had 2 other biological siblings in Adelaide, as well as 7 around Australia, 5 in the United States, and 1 living across the globe in England. These are just the children that Rachel knows are from the same father as her son, Arlo. She is aware that there are a number of kids who share half of Arlo's DNA, and it could be much higher. I know much more about sperm now than I did when I was searching for it naturally, she jokes with 7 Life. Rachel is a proud solo mum, having undergone IVF to give birth to Arlo. She had selected his biological father from a catalogue of sperm donors. Now that she knows many people were fathered by the same donor, she is on a mission to connect him with as many of his biological siblings as possible. Hey, Ginger with Soul, how you doing? Call him Johnny Appleseed. I mean, look, I'm not sure how I feel about this, because for one thing, some people go through the IVF process and select a donor on the basis of anonymity. They don't want their kids to be involved with the father. They don't want any siblings to be involved, anything like that. And then you get people like this that are on a mission to make sure that as many of these kids know that their dad is not their dad. And you can't tell me that someone's not going to get caught in the crossfire, even if it's with the best of intentions. It does sound selfish, yeah. She says it's important for donor-conceived children to know as many as possible, she says. I disagree. The knowledge can enhance their connection, not replace the family that they already have. Rachel knows all too well about the longing to know family history. Lovingly adopted in 83, so she's projecting. Here we go. She grew up not knowing any of her biological ancestry. I couldn't find out anything until I was 18. I had droplets of information, but there was a desperation to know, she says. Rachel adored her adoptive family, but couldn't shake the feeling of not knowing who she was genetically. After her 18th birthday rolled around, she began looking for her biological family and soon discovered she had sisters. She became adamant that any of her own future children would never not know their lineage. Rachel indeed yearned to be a mother, but her 20s passed by and she did not meet the right partner. In her late 30s, she decided to embark on parenthood by herself. Approaching a local fertility clinic, she was given 3 different sperm donor profiles to choose from. Each was imported from the US to try and presumably reduce the amount of cross-contamination, I would assume. Imagine the child support. It's wrong. He's a donor. It's not like a one-night stand, etc. And just think of how this could mess up his life as well. The booklet included a family history of the donors, along with a few childhood images of them and some medical information. One of these candidates became Arlo's biological dad. From the beginning, Rachel was adamant Arlo would have as much information as possible about his heritage. Purchasing a photo album, the mum began to add photos and information about Arlo's father. But with most of the album blank, she jumped on Facebook to see if she could glean any other details for her little boy. Jesus Christ, woman, are you serious? Like, there's a good chance he donated under the condition of anonymity and you're trying to track him down? If you knew that you were going to be a solo parent, you should have just gone and, I don't know, had a one-night stand or something. Because at least then you could have dealt with, like, the whole here's your father sort of thing. This guy specifically signed a contract and donated to provide semen to people, probably more than likely under the condition of anonymity, based on what I'm reading in this article. The information that was provided. There was some medical information, but his actual details are not put in. What makes you think you have the right to go and dig into this guy's history and past? I'm really not happy with this. Crazy white woman, I'm shocked. Let's take a creepy stalker woman and write a positive story about her. Where are we? Because the sperm is so expensive, clinics buy a lot and ship it over, and it's exclusive to that clinic. The sperm can be used by up to 10 families. However, each of those families could have multiple siblings using the same donor. Armed with this information, Rachel knew there was a potential for Arlo to have multiple siblings in the country. She started by phoning the clinic. The clinic can't pass on any personal information, but they can tell you how many live births there have been with that sperm, she says. The sperm profile, which was identified by a unique number, had indeed been used by 9 other families. Rachel joined numerous Facebook groups to ask if anyone may have used the same donor, and importantly, if they would like to connect. I can tell you the exact time where I was when I found Arlo's donor siblings, the mum smiled. 2 mums replied at first, and 1 was living just 5 minutes away. Oh, we have another rumble rant, thank you. So he was just a sperm donor, not a boner donor. No, he was just a sperm donor. I think the wieners might be allergic to her. Arlo had a little brother, a 2-year-old named Samuel. The 2 mums connected and the biological brothers instantly became the best of friends. From birthday parties to playdates, Rachel was over the moon till might have found another piece of the puzzle. She quickly added Sam to Arlo's family album. Rachel and Arlo are also in touch with another biological sibling who lives in Adelaide. I know of 7 more bio-siblings in Australia, she adds. Rachel's request for more of Arlo's brothers and sisters soon turned international. Knowing her fertility clinic had purchased semen from Seattle, the mum contacted the clinic there. Jesus. That's why she's a single parent. Using the information it gave her, she joined more private IVF Facebook pages and posted for potential bio-siblings for her to message her. Rachel soon started receiving other direct messages from 5 American mums and 1 in Britain. It was thrilling. It's so special to know that Arlo has a connection to the world and not just Adelaide. Like modern-day pen pals, Rachel connected with the families and they exchanged information about their children. Pulling out Arlo's album, the mum turned over page after page, adding more bio-siblings. With the album filling up fast, Sam and Arlo and their mums have dreams of one day travelling the globe to connect with the extended family. While Rachel's mission to help build Arlo's family tree has been successful, she admits that she had a few worried individuals question her choice of solo parenthood. I've had, aren't you worried that he could date his siblings when he's older, she says. As someone who was adopted, I actually did grow up thinking this. However, when Arlo is old enough to date, she no longer has to worry after discovering the kinship test. It's a simple at-home kit created by a paternity test called Identilab, which examines DNA profiles to confirm if two individuals might have a biological relationship. I'll be buying a huge pack of these for Arlo. Jesus. Probably got a whole $25 for the sperm donation while he was in college. Should have just flipped a burger, homie. Look at her head. I'm afraid to put a ween in any of that. After finding out about her mindset, I'm not shocked that she had to get a donor. Who the F would date a psycho like this? Is she living on the government dole? I really hope not. I really hope not. Rachel is excited to discover even more about Arlo's heritage, helping him always have an answer to who he is on both his mother and father's side. This is such projection. Why would she put herself into this situation? She's clearly still hung up on the fact that she was adopted as a child and didn't get to know her biological family. And now she's gone and done this. Talk about living vicariously through your child. This is not okay to me. I kind of feel like she needs psychiatric assessment. My own personal opinion. I'm not in any way being defamatory. I'm just saying. She believes that donor-conceived children deserve to know their lineage and that parents who use sperm donors owe it to their children to find out as much as possible. Fuck off. If someone has deliberately made an anonymous donation and they do not want to be involved, that's up to them. And you can't tell me that that's not where this is going to ultimately go. She can say it's all about the brothers and the sisters and the siblings. Families may not want their child to know that there's a sperm donor involved. Families may not want to know that there are other kids out there. Like, the only bit of it that isn't unhinged is her legs. Was she motivated by this before getting a donor? That's a damn good question. Kate Pippier, a forensic scientist who founded Identilab, agrees. Every journey of self-discovery is different. We want to empower individuals, especially donor-conceived people, with the knowledge that they embrace their true selves and find the place in the world even at a young age. Recent research by Identilab shows 20% of Australians have used DNA tests to discover their roots, and all of a sudden put their DNA into a easily searchable database. 30% of participants said DNA tests had given them a newfound sense of belonging. As we continue to witness remarkable advancements in assisted reproductive technologies, it is important we ensure donor-conceived people have adequate tools and support needed to navigate the complex terrain of their genetic heritage. What? Didn't Jordan Peterson mention something about the devouring mother? Feel bad for this kid's future? You could, you just, God, could you imagine more of her? Dwayne says, I've made all of my sperm donations in person. Too much information there, mate. Too much information. Weeks after a grizzly bear bit off his lower jaw, a man is returning home. A Montana man who was mauled by a grizzly bear that bit off the front of his lower jaw is ready to return home after 5 weeks in a Utah hospital. A physician and his family said on Friday during a news conference. Rudy Norlander, who answered most questions at the University of Utah Hospital by writing on a whiteboard, is looking forward to having a root beer float, reuniting with his Yorkshire Terrier Sully, and returning to the outdoors, maybe even being able to attend the rivalry football game next month between the Montana Grizzlies and his beloved Montana State Bobcats. And he developed a whole new hatred for the University of Montana, his daughter Caitlin said, referring to the team's mascot. Mascot? Damn it. I was reading ahead. Mascot. Norlander can speak briefly, but it hurts a little, he said. He will need speech therapy, his surgeon, Dr. Hilary McCrary, said. Norlander didn't want to take questions about the attack because he wants to tell a story and himself and write a book. He said he'd like to have the actor Cole Hauser from Yellowstone television series play his character in the movie adaptation. Where are we? His adult daughters, Ashley and Davis, sat on either side of him during the news conference. Davis read a statement that her father wrote, thanking people for their support, love and prayers and kindness. And that he's received from friends and strangers. I feel truly blessed to be surrounded by such amazing people, he said. Reading her father's statement, I also want to say that the first root beer float is going to taste so amazing, and soon I'm going to be a free-range... soon I'm going to be a free-range chicken. I won't be hooked up to anything. Oh, okay. The family's hoping he'll be able to return home on Monday. Love to watch the man drink. Now you want a root beer float. Well, shit happens. Okay. This one's interesting. America's Got Talent contestant is suing the show after a near-fatal stunt led him catastrophically injured and paraplegic. Surely there is a, I don't know, a waiver agreement for you performing your own stunts on America's Got Talent? I mean, Jonathan Goodwin, the daredevil who nearly died in 2021 from a stunt during rehearsals for America's Got Talent Extreme, is laying the blame on the production itself. In October 2023, the stuntman filed a lawsuit alleging that the show cut corners and didn't do enough to ensure the safety of its contestants. In 2021, he was practicing a dangerous stunt planned to perform on the reality TV show. In the stunt, he hung upside down between two swinging cars while escaping from a straitjacket. The video shows Jonathan, who was hanging about 2 stories high, escaping, but still being sandwiched between the 2 suspended vehicles, which then burst into flames. He was catastrophically injured during the October 21 rehearsal. At the time of his incident, many people thought he was dead, and the outlook certainly appeared bleak. He survived, but he's now paralysed and confined to a wheelchair. Shortly after the incident, he claimed he did nothing wrong and is sticking by that statement. In his lawsuit, the former reality TV hopeful claimed that America's Got Talent failed to implement industry safety standards and hired unqualified people to oversee and design the stunt. He even says the stunt wasn't tested with a dummy beforehand to identify any potential flaws. How does this show... I thought the whole purpose of this show was you brought your talents to the show. Why are people designing stunts for you? I thought that you were supposed to have all of this planned out. Like, this doesn't seem okay to me. What the hell? What's happened there? Okay. Jonathan Goodwin still has mental, physical, and emotional injuries from the catastrophic, life-altering incident, he says in the lawsuit. After it happened, his fiancée, Sherlock actress Amanda Abington, said on Instagram, he fell 30 feet and lost a kidney, broke both shoulder blades, shattered both legs, third-degree burns, broke his spine, severed his spinal cord, and nearly died. And then on the operating table, he nearly died again. She added, unless there's some kind of stem cell surgery or that thing Elon Musk is designing with the little chip, he'll be like that forever. Neuralink did a show on that previously. If you want, go and have a look. Did he do the stunt knowing about the issues? It's a damn good question. In another version of the story, he claims the show changed his stunt. I linked it in Discord a couple of days ago. Oh, okay. Cheers. According to a social media profile, he now lives in his native England, where he practices hypnotherapy and is a screenwriter. Last year, his fiancée recalled her beau giving her a get out of jail free card if she wanted to leave the relationship, knowing that he would never walk again. She stayed by his side then and has continued to do so. Hey, Jude. Cheers. See, this is interesting. I mean, there's all sorts of liability here, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, so he's unemployed. But yeah, I don't know. I'd be very curious to see what the court documents say, honestly. Which I don't think were linked. Oh, hang on. Let me just see if I can... Have they got the court documents, or are they just talking about it? Obtain video of the stunt. Frantic call. Okay. Alright. I think we can look at that. I'll probably get copy claimed by TMZ, but I will. Oh! Whoa! Okay. Pretty sure they make them sign something not to take them to the cleaners if you win. Yeah. Going up. Please don't make spineless jokes. He can't stand up for himself. That's terrible. Holy crap. Like that, I can... dislocated his spinal cord, lost his left kidney, suffered third-degree burns, and fractured his legs, ribs, and shoulders. There's him in a hospital. Footage shows the two cars sandwiching him in mid-air. Sources told us on the stit that the folks thought he had died.
Where's the tourniquet?
County 911, what's location emergency?
Atlanta Motor Speedway, the America's Got Talent filming location.
Okay, you said at Atlanta Motor Speedway?
Yes, the filming location. We got some of the Henry County Fire on scene on overtime. We had a man suspended from a cable. Cars were supposed to slam. He didn't drop in time. They slammed into him. He's got an open tib fracture. He's agonal and posturing. We need a rescue and a helicopter.
Okay. We already had a call out.
Okay.
We got help on the way.
I didn't know you called.
Yeah, no. Well, nobody's called. We don't really have any information. So what?
I think one of your battalion chiefs called on the radio directly.
Okay. Well, what patient information do you have though for us? You said.
He's about a 40-year-old white male. He fell about 40 feet, missed the airbag, landed on his head. He's agonal and posturing.
Okay.
Do you need anything else from me?
Do y'all have anybody there doing CPR?
He's not. He has a pulse. But his respirations are agonal, and he's posturing with a neuro injury.
Where exactly are y'all going to be at?
We are, hang on. I got to get out and look and be able to tell you. If they come in the main gate of Atlanta Motor Speedway and turn right, going around like the front of the grandstands, they will see us on the right where the cranes have the cars suspended.
Okay, are you there with the patient or is somebody else there with the patient?
Well, we're all right here trying to get IVs and stuff set up, but there's a lot of people here.
We've got a deputy that's out there too. Okay, I'll go and let y'all go so y'all can tend to the patient.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, and I think we need to listen to the rest of that. Of course he's suing for damages, why would you not? When stunts go wrong. There you go, landed on his head. Flattened, cooked, breaded is his new nickname, Schnitzel. I love how TMZ's even got the Australian man fighting off the kangaroo. Like, every man and his dog was commenting on that. So, where are we? The hefty salaries of Victorian council workers has been revealed. This is some bullshit. It pays to work for the local government, with Victorian council staffers pocketing $110,000 a year on average. It's a sweeter deal for metropolitan employees who pocket an average pay packet of more than $116,000. The analysis from Council Watch was based on the 2023-2034 budget papers for each local government area, and reveals the city of Melbourne pays staff the most, with salaries starting at around $136,000 a year. Seriously, we are paying local council. The CEO of a local council is receiving $270,000 a year. Someone explain to me why the fuck they're getting paid that, and we're having to pay thousands in council rates. What do these guys actually do? Next to nothing, as far as I can tell. Hell, even my constitutional law professor, and that was what, 10, 15 odd years ago, said, hey, everything that the local government can do could be rolled into the state government. Not enough. How do they pay for the second yacht? Government employees overpaid. No, I don't believe it. They're close to double the average full-time salary of an Australian worker. Port Phillip and Boroondara also offer higher wages, with an average of $129,000 and $125,000 respectively. The high remuneration is mostly driven by executives and other office staff, according to Council Watch President Dean Hurlston. Councils are bloated, he said. People want the communities fixed and run properly. They're sick and tired of more fat cats behind the desks. Yeah. The money, Hurlston said, should go towards improving grassroots organisations like the Werribee Junior Cricket Club. We've been serving the community for such a long time, and it's not having a go at anyone. We appreciate what we've got, but we need to plan to be better for the future as well, said the club's president. Despite earning a hefty surplus last financial year, Wyndham Council has delayed plans for a new sporting hub for the club due to cost pressures and problems with flooding at the proposed site on Alfred Road. Council is actively considering the future of the project. How did this get onto that? I'm pissed off about the fact that... Oh, hang on, let's have a look. So we got Wyndham City Council CEO is receiving $420,000 to $430,000 a year. That is insane. To be fair, at the moment, Australia do need help in the cricket department. I didn't look. Did they? How'd they hold up against Sri Lanka yesterday? $550,000. Wait, so Hume is getting paid more than the City of Melbourne. Local government, yet another no referendum that was pretty much ignored. Yeah. Unfortunately. Damn, that's more than we pay the potato. It's crazy. Honestly crazy. And should not be happening. Alright. Okay, this one requires a trigger warning. Girls aged 12 and 13 strip searched by New South Wales police. Remember how the other day we were talking about the strip searching happening at, like, the festivals and things like that? Well, New South Wales police continue to make a very bad name for themselves. Girls as young as 12 and 13 are being strip searched by New South Wales police, with the intervention increasing by 30% for females aged under 17, as experts called for an immediate end to the barbaric act. From June 22 to June 23, 3 primary school aged girls and 6 13-year-old girls were strip searched, meaning they had to remove or move clothing because police believed that they were concealing drugs or weapons. The powers were used on 107 children during 2021 and 22 and 2023, with the youngest boy subjected to an intervention aged 14. More than 20% of the children searched were Indigenous. I kind of feel like that's irrelevant. I get that it's 1 in 5, but that still means that 4 in 5 weren't. Associate Professor Liz Scott of the Brain and Mind Centre Youth Model at University of Sydney said forcing children to take their clothes off in front of officers was draconian and totally heavy-handed and may cause long-term harm. Yes, and were their parents or a guardian present or even notified? The number of this type of intervention should be going down, not up, she said. Strip searches are far more likely to force young people into risky behaviour. They're not going to engage with police for other safety measures. They won't participate in pill testing, and presumably there'll be no after support for these children either. This can have an irreparable impact on their lives. It's disgusting. The data obtained by the Freedom of Information Laws by Redfern Legal Centre revealed the use of strip searches on young girls jumped 7 to 25 between 2021 and 2023. Boys under the age of 17 were subjected to intervention 44 times and 31 times over the same periods. New South Wales police are only permitted to carry out strip searches if the situation is serious or commands urgency. It is not clear if a parent or guardian was with any of the children at the time of the searches, but if police believe a search is needed to be done immediately for safety reasons or to prevent evidence from being destroyed, they can use the power without an adult consent. The state government last week introduced an overhaul of drug laws whereby people who are caught with small quantities of illicit drugs for personal use could be issued with fines that may be worked off if they sought help. Redfern Legal Centre Senior Solicitor Samantha Lee said the data showed that the intervention was being used as a routine practice of police and not as the law intended, and hoped the updated legislation would mean the need for a strip search was minimalised. No child should be forced to strip down naked in front of an adult, even police or non-police. In the event of the majority of strip searches, they find absolutely nothing, so it's highly likely these strip searches are occurring for no reason and the child has done absolutely nothing wrong. I cannot understand how children in New South Wales can be strip searched in 2023. It's just barbaric and fails to adhere to any child protection or child safety principles. It's harmful, invasive, and it's child abuse. They're under the age of 13. Explain to me what difference a pat-down is going to do to a strip search. It's not like they're overweight and can conceal things under rolls of fat. Like, what the fuck are you doing? I almost said it. I almost said the bad word. Well, I may be counter on this one. Often the bad guys use these kids to smuggle. Criminals don't care about kids. No, look, I agree. And yes, there are kids as young as 13 saying, oh, well, I can get away with what I want because the police can't do shit. Well, I'm not okay with them being perverts, though. It is a balancing act. Reminds me of the scene from Bad Lieutenant. More than 40% of strip searches were on young adults aged 18 to 29. However, nothing illegal was found in 58% of the cases. So you've got there's less than half a chance that you're going to find something. Where something was found, 75% of the times it was illegal drugs. The oldest person to be strip searched was 72. Ugh. And while First Nations people accounted for 3% of the New South Wales population, they were represented in 14% of strip searches undertaken, with a total of 4,591 strip searches carried out over the 2-year period. Don't care about that. Report released by the Law Enforcement Conduct Commission in September found that less than a third of the New South Wales police strip searches records over the past 2 years demonstrated that officers had complied with the rules designed to protect privacy and dignity. At the time, New South Wales Police blamed a new training and process forms for not communicating effectively. Police Minister Yasmin Cartley did not comment when asked if there was a need to review the powers, or if the new drug laws meant the intervention should be less, responding, if anyone has a complaint about the conduct of New South Wales Police, it can be made to the Commissioner of the Police or to the Law Enforcement Conduct Commission. A New South Wales police spokesperson said officers are trained to deal with the public in a respectful and empathetic manner, and may be aware of potential cultural sensitivities. There are additional safeguards for children aged 10 to 18 and vulnerable people which police must comply with. Yeah, well, clearly they're not, though. So what the fuck does it matter if there's things that they're supposed to comply with if they're not going to? Where are we? Alright, we can do... No, I want to skip over that one because I don't think that's YouTube friendly. Edinburgh couple fume as they handed a £17,000 bill by Tesla as they drove in the rain. An Edinburgh couple say they're in shock after claiming that Tesla gave them a £17,000 bill to fix the battery that was damaged by the rain. Johnny and Rob were told how they were left with a massive bill when their $60,000 electric car stopped working when the capital was faced with extreme weather last week. Following frustrating correspondence with the company, which boasts Elon Musk as its largest shareholder, the pair said they were still being asked to fork out £17,000 despite claiming no fault on the part. Johnny and Rob had left their home near Baberton to head to a popular city centre restaurant last Saturday. Although they arrived with no issues, they say the car wouldn't start as they attempted to leave after enjoying their meal. They say they waited for nearly 5 hours for road assistance from Tesla support and still have not seen the luxury car since it was wheeled away from the side of the road that evening. I honestly can't believe that this has happened. When I first got the call, I thought it would be a bill for $500 or £1,000. Well, they said over 17 grand. It's absolutely obscene. My heart missed a beat. I went out for dinner and drove our car to Frederick Street. Obviously, it was wet with the weather last week, but I honestly can't remember any huge puddles or anything like that. It's not like I was driving my car through the Cairngorms. After dinner, the car just wouldn't move. Eventually, we had to contact Tesla Roadside Assist around 10 p.m. After a few annoyingly difficult further calls and one failed collection attempt, our car was collected by a firm suitable for Tesla collection and delivered to Tesla Edinburgh at about 1 a.m. After complaints from me, we received a call at 5:30 p.m. on the Wednesday saying the battery was damaged due to water ingress and was unfortunately not covered by the battery's 8-year warranty, so the repair would be around £17,500. Did I wish to proceed? I was flabbergasted and couldn't really find the words. John says he pressed representatives of Tesla on whether he or Rob were at fault for the damage, to which he claims he was told it was a weather issue. They said the battery was effectively submerged in water. How can that be our fault? After finally getting to speak to a manager, he was told that the water in it was due to the fact that there was weather in Scotland that had been so bad that was the issue. They said it was not necessarily my fault, but it was not Tesla's to pay under the warranty. He reminded me that there were yellow weather warnings in some parts of Scotland. I pushed him on this and said I'd never heard something like this happening. He said it can happen with Range Rovers and Mercs, but I'm just not buying it. To date, it's been a disaster of a service, and the stress and worry about this is excruciating. I said to the manager, so my understanding is Teslas are unfit for purpose in Scotland. I've been driving around for 30 years, and this is my most premium car to date. This is what it does when Edinburgh's roads get puddles or a little wet. Edinburgh Live has seen the correspondence between the couple and Tesla, which confirms the £17,374 bill. Furthermore, an email from Tesla Customer Relations also commits to an investigation into the complaint and a response on behalf of the business. If I'd known the customer service would be so bad, If I had known the customer service would be so bad, I'm not sure, but I would have bothered buying the car. Do they know that we're in Scotland? The weather is not abnormal for living here. I can only see the number of claims on problems like this going up. The thing is, Elon Musk could buy everyone in the world a Tesla if he wanted to. Tesla UK and Europe have been approached for comment. Never had a problem with a normal car during a thunderstorm? Nope. Me neither. Driven through some pretty terrible weather, and I've never had any sort of issue with the battery like that. Hell no. Alright. And we will finish up with... I'm not going to get a free count. Hong Kong! 11 kilograms of suspected cocaine found in a motorised wheelchair. Officials at the Hong Kong International Airport have uncovered 11 kilos of suspected cocaine hidden in the cushions of an electric wheelchair. The haul, worth an estimated $1.5 million, was found when a 51-year-old man was going through customs clearance on Saturday. The man, who arrived from the Caribbean country of Saint Martin via Paris on Saturday, has been arrested. He could face life in prison if found guilty of trafficking a dangerous drug. According to customs officials, the suspect brought the wheelchair into the country as one of two pieces of checked baggage. Further examination was ordered when staff became suspicious, and they found evidence that the seat cushion and backrest had been restitched. The man, who is not from Hong Kong, has mobility issues, reportedly told officials that he was the director of a car rental company and the wheelchair had been loaned to him by a friend. An investigation into the incident has been launched. Customs officials said in response to this discovery that they would increase checks on visitors from high-risk regions to combat transnational drug trafficking activities. According to their latest statistics, the number of cases detected in customs checks involving dangerous drugs in 2022 was up 931 from the previous 906 in the previous year. Some 178 people were arrested over related offences last year. It is not the first time the drugs have been found hidden in a wheelchair at an airport. In November, officials in New York seized $450,000 worth of cocaine found in the wheels of a woman's wheelchair. They're getting clever. In September 22, nearly $1.6 million worth of cocaine was found stuffed into the upholstery of a motorised wheelchair in the Italian city of Milan. So there you go. Oh, alright, folks. Fuck. I'm going to get out of here. Actually, you know what? Let me just bring that up again for a second. Don't forget, Source Saturday, a week from Saturday. This is your chance to... I won't say keep the channel running, but YouTube sort of decided that my entertainment of you is worth about... Ooh. What did I work it out at? 50 cents a day? Hang on. Oh no, it's far less than that. Say hello to my little friend. Beep beep. You miss Kinky Corner. 50-cent shots. No, Captain Bipto, I'm not that insane. Basically, guys, whilst I'm still going to be here, I will still stream to anyone and everyone. I will still stream so long as there is a single person in Alaska sitting in a hut watching me. But with the way that YouTube are now doing the monetization and with shorts and all that sort of stuff and the CPMs and all that kind of crap, it's getting to a point where I'm going to have to start dialing back because, unfortunately, it does impede on my day-to-day stuff. And as much as I absolutely love and adore being here doing this, I do have to put my family first. And... Derner says, this is to entertain us for about a week. Thank you, Derner. I appreciate the super chat. But yeah, I don't know what happened. I don't know who I pissed off at YouTube, whatever else. But the views on Rumble are almost double what I get with a fraction of the subscriber base, and when there are no big trials going on is going to suck. Well, do it best for the fam. I enjoy the streams regardless. Yeah. And I genuinely want to say I appreciate each and every one of you watching this. I really do. I'm not quite sure who I pissed off at YouTube, whether or not it's just that they don't want to promote the content or whatever else, but it does actually feel like they're trying to push me off the platform at this point. And I can't justify 7 days a week, I don't think, for very much longer. I can't. In like May, June, July, obviously leading up to the trip to America, it was brilliant. I want to thank each and every one of you for getting the videos out there and all that sort of stuff. Having come back from August, it's literally like a tenth of what it was. And I wholeheartedly understand that there is a global recession going on and all that sort of stuff, but I also need to be focusing on things that provide for my family as well. So, Source Saturday I'm introducing that purely as a grift. I'm not going to lie. I will make no qualms about it. If that's not your cup of tea, then don't attend, okay? More collabs could help. Yeah, that's the other thing that I'm trying to sort out, basically. And yeah, that's sort of why I put out that notice, who you would like to see on the channel and that sort of thing. But yeah, I didn't mean to turn this into a depressing suckfest or anything like that. I'm just saying there may be more days where I'm not doing shows because I have to do actual paid work or something like that. And Streamlabs catching up on the super chat that we brought up like 5 minutes ago. Good job, Streamlabs. Tragic, thank you for the super chat. 9 months sub on YouTube. Should I switch to locals? I do get a bigger cut out of locals, and the more people that are on locals that are paid members, the longer I can stream on there. I do need to genuinely start spending more time on locals. But I do need to do a few other things as well. So for the moment, Tragic, keep your membership here. You do get special perks, as you will see in the credits. And again, thank you so much for the super chat. I really do appreciate it. And thank you to everyone that has contributed to the channel. But in the meantime, yeah, I do need to get the hell out of here because I have to get some work done. Lol, used to drive by the gas station all the time. Did not mean to actually click on that, sorry. Pull me out of lurking. Do the best for you and yours whenever you can make it. Cheers. I appreciate that. But yeah, we will see what we can do, okay, people? If I can somehow magically find the switch that tells YouTube to fuck off and actually promote the stuff, then we may be able to keep going. All I'm saying is that long term, it may not be feasible for me to continue 7 days a week. But we will see how we go, okay? But as I said, make sure that you come to Source Saturday. It will be to try and get as much promotion of the channel as possible. Make sure that things are as good as possible. They demonetized a creator I like long ago. He's still trying to put out content in spite of them, but he's a single guy. Well, there is that. What can we do? More retweeting of stream announcements. Either that, or even if you just share out past videos, like, because for anyone that doesn't necessarily know, I do take snippets out of these streams and upload them as individual videos. Thank you to my editor who puts those together with the nice little tidbits and like the covering over my cursing and that sort of thing. So I very much appreciate that. It's more just about getting as many people in as we can, just to, you know, draw things in. And I'm trying to come up with, as bad as it sounds, trying to come up with gimmicks and creative ideas and that sort of thing. I will be the first to admit I suck at making ideas. I really do. And that's why Psychotic Doll TX keeps giving me shit, because I suck at grifting. I really, really do. Because I'm not generally that kind of guy. Still say you should start at around $20 and see how that goes. You just want to see me plastered and spew, Bipto. But anyway. Main thing is, as always, and as every single stream that I will ever do will tell you, you are not a piece of shit. And I very much appreciate you being here. And you do contribute to society, especially if you hit that like button. Share out the streams if you can. Even if you just tell somebody about me and say, give them a go. But as always, stay healthy, wealthy, wise, and I will catch you on the flip side, guys. Hopefully this works this time around. There should be a few people to get credits, so let's have a look-see. Best of luck. I'm saying that to myself at this point. damn it! It still only showed the super chat ones. It should have been. I think maybe when you join as a member, you also get a credit in there, or whether or not you subscribe to the show and things like that. So, yeah, it worked for the super chats. It's more just I also wanted it to show current members and current subscribers that are watching at the time. I'm still trying to tweak that. We will get there, people. I want each and every one of you that are watching to get your contribution shown. Okay? That's really what I'm trying to do. Should make joke credits like the Simpsons Halloween special. Quite possibly. That could work. Alright. Anyway, guys, I'm getting out of here. Have a good day, and I shall catch you all on the flip side. Cheers, guys.
Fuck this shit, I'm out. No thanks. Don't mind me. I'ma just grab my stuff and leave. Excuse me, please. Fuck this shit, I'm out. Nope. Fuck this shit, I'm out. Alright then. I don't know what the fuck just happened, but I don't really care. I'ma get the fuck up out of here. Fuck this shit, I'm out.